Hello again guys, relatively quick video for you today. Here in my office I use a couple of lights for my setup, but with this new camera I haven't really been needing quite as much light, so I decided to try something new. I saw a live stream from a guy named Max Lee, also known as Zito Max here on the internet. I'll put a link to his channel down below if you're interested in seeing his stuff. But the live stream was talking about LED lighting, and one of the things he mentioned was something similar to what I have here in front of me. This is the YONGNUO YN300 Air LED panel. The one he mentioned was specifically the YN300. There are 3 different versions of that. They have barn doors, they have remote controls. This one is thinner, it's lighter, it has a built-in panel on the front that's supposed to diffuse the light a little bit, and it was the cheapest one out of all of them, so I thought I'd give it a shot. So let's take a look at what comes in it. We'll try it out, maybe do a quick comparison with my simple lighting that I've got here in this one little light. Not a fair comparison, obviously. So inside of the box you get this little manual, mostly in Chinese, it would seem. You get the LED panel itself, which despite the name, the YN300 name, only has 96 LEDs behind it. On the back of the panel, you're going to see this little knob here to control the amount, the intensity of the light. There's a battery test button, a set button, a 3200, 5500 Kelvin button, lets you control which one you're actually setting, and a fine and coarse, which again lets you control how much light you're setting. But we will get to that later. Up here you have an AC adapter connector. We do not have an AC adapter. That is one thing I will mention. This does not come with any sort of method of powering it, so keep that in mind. If you do decide to pick one up, you're gonna have to figure out how to power it. From the looks of it and from reading about it, it does take a Sony battery, and there's a ridiculous amount of those available. I do actually have one here that I'm gonna test it with, and everything else in this package looks like accessories. So to go on the bottom of the device, this actually looks like a GoPro connector. I may have to try that out here in a minute. You've got this little hot shoe mount. You can just sort of fit here into the bottom of it, and you sort of screw everything back together. That worked out pretty well and pretty easily, no problem. You've also got this. It's just a handle that will screw into the bottom of this in this tripod mount. By the way, this is also a tripod mount, so you can just screw it in just like that, and voila, you've got this on a stick. But if you do not want to use your LED on a stick, you've also got a hot shoe stand. So you can just unscrew this to raise it up, slide it into the little stand, and screw it back down to hold it in place. And boom, you've got a little table-mounted light, which I'll probably leave it like that. And of course, the very last thing in the box is a mesh bag that should hold the LED panel quite nicely, as well as all of the accessories. And to keep things relatively short, sweet, and to the point, I'm gonna go ahead and take this Sony battery that I charged ahead of time. I'm gonna stick it in my little LED panel here. There you go, just like that. And there is a button here for the quick release if you want. You just push that, pop it right back out, and pop it back in. And like I said, it will take a ridiculous amount of these Sony batteries, just whatever size you want to put in it. I saw somebody put one in that was literally this long, so it will just last forever. And when you're ready to go, you just push in on this button. You see it says 1, and that is 1 at the 3200 Kelvin. If I switch it over, I can have 1 there, and just 1 notch at a time, control it all the way up to 100. But if you don't want to take it 1 at a time, change it from fine to coarse, and now it goes up 10 at a time. There we go. Now we're at 99. We switched over to 3300, we're back at 1, but we still got the 99 on the original one. So we'll be on coarse, boom, there we go. Now we actually have a mix of 5500 and 3200. So I'll probably take that all the way back down, so I have 5500 at 99. That's about what my lights, my existing lights are. And you can check your battery by hitting that right there. It gives you a number 1 to 9 as to how much battery you have remaining. Actually, it's probably 0 to 9. And there's a set. And I'm not 100% certain what that set button is doing. If you hit the set button, it takes it all the way back to 0. Maybe it's a power off. Maybe it's, I don't know. Again, the manual is all in Chinese, so I can't really make heads or tails of it. By the way, a couple of quick after-the-fact updates. The user manual does have an English section inside. The included tripod mount stand actually has an opening in the bottom that you can fit it down on a light stand if you do have a lighting stand with a traditional lighting connector. And the set button that I was not familiar with takes it to a preset setting, whatever you want to set it to. So if you put it at a setting where you have like 30/70 with the lights, you can hold that button, long press that button, and then anytime you change it, if you tap that button again, it'll go back to whatever you save in its little memory. Now back to the video. Now at this point, just to give you sort of a point of reference as to what this room is gonna look like, if you can see back there, it's actually really dark outside, so if I turn off these lights in front of me, it gets pretty dark in here pretty quick. And now for the sake of comparison, I'm going to turn off my lights and turn on this light. There you go. That's a bright light. That's a really, really bright light. Now just that very, very quick second there, I'm gonna say it's not gonna be an exact replacement for the lights that I have, but I'm actually really curious to see what happens when I have it up on the camera, when I make changes to it and things like that. Now these softboxes I have, they do fill up the room with light, as it were. It's a lot bigger area. So this is not gonna be an actual adequate comparison, but again, softbox is on, 1 light bulb apiece, and now we are on the LED light, the LED panel. All of the 5500K lights are on at 99, the 3200 ones are turned off, so this is what it looks looks like. And this is what it looks like at 99 on the 3200 Kelvin, so everything is really yellow. You might want to mix the two if you want something in between. This is what the mix of 3200 and 5500 looks like, which realistically is not all that bad. It's a little bit more warm, but it's not completely weirdly yellow. So you can really make it sort of whichever way you want it. And now we're back to the regular lights. So to go ahead and wrap things up, my initial impressions of this, I'm very pleased with the construction. It's really small, it's thin, it's light. I like the accessories that came along with it, actually. If I don't end up using this light all the time, I may end up using this hot shoe to sort of GoPro adapter, and possibly this table mount for a hot shoe. Just a great amount of accessories there. And this light, I should go ahead and say it, was $42 on Amazon. The battery pack is going to be an entirely different thing. I've seen them running from about $15 to $20 on Amazon. Again, I'll find one, I'll put a link down below. I'll have a link to the light itself. And if you want the AC adapter to go along with it, that's another 20 bucks. So you're very quickly adding on to the price there. What I'm really tempted to do is to pick up a second one of these and a second battery, or a second one of these and a couple of AC adapters, and see how they work in kind of a setup like this. Or possibly even use this as a hair light, you know, sort of a behind the back. Look, that's a light that really separates me from the background. It looks kind of nice. Because you could actually put this on a boom pole and put it up overhead to give you that distinction, that differentiation from your background. I changed the color temperature back. That's probably a more adequate what it would look like type scenario, except I wouldn't be doing this with my arm. So as I was saying, I'm really impressed with the build quality. I like the amount of light that this outputs. I'd be curious to see how this stacks up next to the YN300, the original ones that have 300 LEDs in them, because they said on Amazon they're supposed to put out about the same amount of light. This is supposed to put out 2,000 lumens of light, whereas the original YN300s put out about 2260 something. So just a little bit more for a lot more LEDs. And the fact that I'm able to power this using one little battery that I've had for a really long time. This battery, just in case you're curious, is the Sony NP-F550 or F570 2600 milliamp hour battery, but there are bigger, better ones out there. So if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, anything specifically you'd like to see done with this, anything you'd like to see as a follow-up to this, let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Links to this and all of the stuff surrounding it can be found in the description as usual. Leave me a thumbs up below this video if you like this video, subscribe to receive more of my videos when they become available, and I'll see you again next time. Contributing. But I do have a Snapchat. You can see the little link right here. However, as opposed to having to scan that little thing if you're watching on your phone, for example, Snapchat has